Lady Ashwood. This is indeed a great honour to have you in the workshop. Why is that? Anyway, I'd like to apologise for the summer video not getting uploaded, so that's what you're about to see. Time for some tea and crumpets, I think. You're really sure my head doesn't look shiny in this shot? Bob, you're on. Oh. Morning everybody. This is the first day of my little build of the Stromboli, so we're down the workshop with this video. So, Stromboli from SmallBrooke Studios. I haven't even opened the packet yet. I love Michael's kits. They are very inspiring. He does a great job. They're a great kit to build. They're a nice, well, let's say they're not as expensive as buying some of the new locomotives that you're seeing around these days. I have a 00 Great Western layout as well, and it's nice, but you know, as everyone keeps mentioning, these things are getting a little bit expensive actually. So I'm not going to build this kit as it's shown on the picture. I've got an idea. This is my first day. Haven't even opened it. So we'll just progress and see how we go along with this. I get Michael to supply the little Smoky Joe from Hornby as well, just because where I am it's easier for him to just package it and throw it in, even though these are getting hard to find. He's got a little bit of a premium on these now. So let's see what we got. Lots of nice little bits in there, as you can see. Let's have a good look at the old picture, and I'm going to put the address up just in case people are not realizing where I'm getting this stuff from. You can buy I'm not sure if Michael still does, but you can buy these individual pieces if you've got your own design you want. I did that on Dotty on the auto coach. You might want to look at that. So this is what we got in the kit. See, we've got another barrel. Presume that's to hold the water. Boiler, all essential boiler. You always get this little bag of brass and copper pipes, drawing pins, split pins, you name it. A lead weighted chassis, which fits very nicely on the little 040, which you do usually have to adapt. I'm not sure which way we adapt that one yet. And that is where the instructions come in. So these are always really good, and we'll have a quick look through those first. What else we got in here? Oh, we got like a coal bunker thing. I got to put a tail light on that. Ooh, nice couple of, what are they, springs? I'm not quite sure what they are. And some of the tops of the safety valves and things like that, or wannabe safety valves. It almost looks like a piece of Lego. So on with the build. So we have the usual Smoky Joe chassis, hooks, and with the cylinders still on. So in typical SmallBrooke style, these are going to have to be cut off, cylinders cut off, and the rear hook, which actually has got a little bent, has to come off. So we're going to do that. And this is the beginning of this, and the excuse me, the chassis plate, which I always tend to put on a glass plate, give it a sand, sort of like that, to make sure that's perfectly flat. And reading the instructions, yeah, believe it or not, I read the instructions. Michael points out that there is a difference in the front and the back, and what would be normal protocol for engines, and it gets confusing with vertical boiler locomotives. So that first paragraph is definitely worth a read, and he ends up calling them the barrel end and the barrel end and obviously the coal end, I think. So that's worth remembering if you're following the instructions to the letter. Come back to the chassis. I am sort of thinking at the moment I'm going to extend the chassis a little bit each way to allow a sort of top. I'm thinking of a, one of those corrugated iron tops that you see on some of these things, just to make this look a little bit different. Or my other alternative is to make it into maybe some sort of auto coach, and I'll put a little picture of Dotty in here and maybe adapt, or not adapt Dotty, but make something similar to Dotty with like a steam rail motor, rail car, steam car. I saw one on one of the YouTube videos on the West Somerset Railway. Thanks to Admiral's Corner, if you're a West Somerset Railway fan, he has a great set of videos showing locos running, and actually not too far from my original home, to tell you the truth. Okay, so I'll picture Dotty and on with the build. So the cylinder's cut off and the hook's cut off, and we're left with a Smoky Joe with those bits removed. Sanded the base, and now I sanded the edges flat because I said, I'm going to try and add on to those, and I did break one of the little tabs on there, actually, funny enough. So just so you know, maybe be a bit more careful. So we're feeding the connector rods through there, and Smoky Joe does have a couple of hooks, and as you can see, Michael makes everything go together relatively easily, he says, trying to get that in the right hole. Should take the motor out to do this, actually. I think it'd be easier. I might do that in a minute. So yeah, that little tab at the front's a bit annoying, but we'll figure that out. So we're left with this, and I did have a couple of spare. This is one of the wagon kits that I cut for Dotty, and I had a spare leaded weight thing, which I don't know, one of the other kits that came out. This is too big. This is not the right width. I'm either going to make up 2 complete new ends, which is possible. I've replicated these rivets before with pin heads, so I might do that. I've got to work out a size for that. But there, that's the beginning of, actually we haven't got a name for this yet. And the other thing, we go back to the little package here, which is just conveniently sitting. I run dead rail. Most of you know, I use a little lithium 9-volt size battery and a board, which is about the same size as a 00 tender, and there is no way that is fitting in this. I'm going to have to run some sort of coal truck or something with it if I want to stick with dead rail, and that might lead me into what I'm trying to do with another layout from TippY AshwooD, but we'll get onto that. I'd like to try the main components on, starting with the boiler. You've probably seen in previous videos I've actually put smoke units in. I've drilled the firebox door out so you can get flickering firelight thing. I use this little kit, actually. Let's get that in the picture. For putting the firebox globe in. I like to assemble things up to bits just to see what we've got size wise going here. Barrel obviously goes towards the front here somewhere, and then this goes on the back. I don't know if that's got a ridge on it, if it sits on top or it sits side there. With a look. Yeah, that's a pretty cool little thing, actually. to tell you the truth. Looking at the picture again, I think I'm only going to extend. Let's get it the same way around. Ooh, carefully turn, carefully turn. Zzz. I think what I'm going to do is extend, maybe, depending where this ends up sitting, I think it's going to sit more there. Yeah, I think I'm going to extend the back here and add a little bit of more of a coal bunker into the back. Not sure about that yet. So this is the thought process of TippY Ashwood. Where are the wheel sets? This is the thought process of TippY Ashwood at its best. Make it up as you go along. So that gets us to about here. We've extended the chassis. You can see I've drilled a pilot hole there. I'm going to put some pins in there. We've also extended, you want to say like the boiler or the steam pipes across here. Let me just turn that so you can see that a little bit better. My idea was, you can see all the bits and bobs floating around here, it was to maybe add, let's see if we can get that into a shot, another set of wheels to give it a little bit more interest at the back. I'm still working on that. This is how I extended the chassis. This is, you can just about make the lines out, just hardwood or masonite board. I stick it together and just clamp it together and then shape it to whatever I want. Yeah, there's a little tip in the back of the chassis. Why not? It's TippY Ashwood. The water barrel for the front, I've drilled out as much as I think I can get away with. Added some extra details, some pin rivets, so when you'll see these come through in the paint. Extra little hole. It's going to take me 2 hands to assemble all this, so there's going to be a little bit of a jump in a minute, but that's sort of that idea. I extended the back so that Admiral Dickie Bird or Bernie Woods has got somewhere to sit, and I like the idea of having coal in the bunker, so we went with coal in the bunker, or a space for a coal in the bunker. Again, if we can get this in shot, I've drilled out the main boiler, a little bit of details on that. I just add bits in, and I'm trying to show you guys all this sort of stuff before it goes to paint, so you can see roughly what it's like. Then I've got some, Michael makes good use of split pins, regular drawing pins, bits of copper wire. Well, you know, you don't have to look far and wide in your house, or actually, you know what, even just in garbage and stuff to find this stuff. Yeah, that old vacuum cable that you're throwing away or something might contain some of this copper wire and stuff. There's a little pump or presser. I don't know what that actually would do offhand. Anyway, so that goes on. Actually, that goes on the other side. I'll have to assemble that, so we'll come back and assemble. I haven't drilled out the chimney yet. I got to do that for a smoke unit. They're not the easiest things to drill out, as you can well imagine. So not quite brave enough to do that yet. Anyway, so that obviously goes in the top of the boiler. So this gives you the overall idea of where I'm going. Little copper pipes, got little holes cut for certain things. It all does take a little bit of assembling, and I don't want to do too much of that before I paint, but I really wanted to show you everything before I paint. And then I said I was going to do a little canopy. it's going to have a little canopy on. Now I'll assemble this in a minute so you can see this. Aluminium piece of plate. I actually started with just an ordinary pop can, but I decided I actually had some little plate around. Cardboard for the ribs, sorry. My soldering's passable, but this is just copper with soldered together. It's a good way of practicing your soldering if you're not that good. And of course, to give it a bit of strength, being TippY Ashwood and a bit like on the Heath Robinson thing, you know, you'd strengthen things with plates and stuff, and I'm going to put some pin heads in here so it looks like it's bolted together. Anyway, we'll throw this on and then you'll get the overall picture of what things look like. So when we're sort of assembled, it looks like this. Totally different. You can just sort of make out some of the extra copper wires, sort of water pipes, whatever. I'm no engineer, far from it, definitely not steam stuff, but I know the rough idea of how the thing works, so I always try and make things look like they work. So I'm trying to do all this before I put this in primer. And a little trick, blue tack. I tend to use a lot of blue tack just to assemble and see things together. So we'll stick the old coal bunker on, for want of a better word. And I've made a copper pipe there for quite, that won't stay on, so no, so much for the blue tack. Hang on one moment, we'll just reassemble that there. And yeah, I think we've come up with something unique, let's say that. Sorry about the shadow. I'll take some stills maybe and then we can see those. Anyway, so that's sort of getting ready for a disassemble and a paint. I sometimes paint things in parts and sometimes paint things as a whole, but this is definitely going to have to be painted in bits and then assembled. And I still haven't overcome the problem of where to put these batteries. They're about the size of a 9-volt battery, put in your fire alarms and things. Well, you know, as I've said before, that's not going to fit in there. So much like Dottie and Rosie, they're going to be probably permanently coupled. And so obviously this is a yard locomotive. I'm just going to use one of SmallBrooke's wagon chassis kits. And what we're going to get there is, hang on, bear with me for a second, is, when assembled, this is one of my little flatbeds, but it gives you an idea. I'm just going to move the camera a little bit there. A wagon that's permanently coupled. This is going to be like one of those Great Western shunter trucks that you see. I'll see if I can find a quick photograph on Google or something to add that in here. So it's going to be in an Emmett style, and it's going to have the two tool chests down the side. Probably even going to do it the grey. And I'm going to make it to hide that speaker cube and the dead rail board inside that and permanently couple it to that, and the battery, of course. Although that's going to take some doing. It's that's even small as well, actually, compared to the size. But Blue Rail have changed how they do their boards now. You can connect to a Blue Rail Bluetooth system, but you can use DCC boards with the sound in them. So that means I can lose that 1-inch speaker cube, which one of its biggest downfalls is that it always gets the sound from one locomotive. So you can't have 3 of those cubes with 3 different locomotives. Where for DCC you can, obviously the sound comes from the actual locomotive that you've got running. So that's a great advantage, but it's not something I've looked into yet to do that. But anyway, that's the that's the Stromboli kit with a shunter wagon in the back, and that's as far as we've got at the moment. I think we'll be heading to the paint shop with that, and I'll show you some of the painting techniques, even though I've done those in some of the early videos with wagons and things like that. But yeah, I think we'll hold there for the time being. Have yourself a good summer. Bye bye.